Hello again, Michael Friedrich here from Rain Soap, North Carolina. Today's shave is going to include a new shaving soap as well as a blade I have not used in quite some time. So let's go ahead and get started. Just out of the shower, I have about 2.5 days worth of growth. Today's shaving soap is going to be Calani handmade shaving soap from Germany. This is the orange and cypress, the Iberian sun, Iberische Sonne. There's really interesting ingredients in here. So this is just a number of different types of oil, but there are two ingredients to call out just in case you need to know. The first is this does include kaolin clay, and this also includes the hydrolyzed silk, which we also saw in the first Canadian shave soap. I have the soap pressed into the Calani terracotta dish. Didn't fit in the apothecary mug, it's just that the puck is just too wide and that dish is just too narrow at the bottom, so I've just pressed it back into here. I will say there are two things about the soap to note. First of all, it lathers fantastically, but if you don't like making a mess when you're lathering up soap, and especially in a dish that small, I would highly recommend that you start off with a dry brush, or at least a only moderately damp brush. If you start with a wet brush, this soap produces an immediate, frothy, very bubbly lather. Not that that lather is bad at all, it's just that it tends to produce quite a lot of it, and that can be a little bit messy. So I'm going to start off today with a relatively dry brush. It's going to be the Rod Neep boar again. As you can see, starting off pretty dry. I'm just going to start loading. You can see, even with the dry, if I add a bit of water to this, it's going to start getting very bubbly and frothy right away. Soap loads easily. I mean, you can see what's happening already. Soap loads really easily, builds a lather very quickly. You could just imagine if you started out with a wet brush, just how much overflow there would be. All right, I'm gonna make sure I get a good amount loaded on the brush. Just wipe off some of the remainder on the side of the dish. There's always the danger with that terracotta dish too. If there's soap on the side and you're putting it down, you always have this moment of trepidation because that thing could so easily slip out of your hands. And if it does, there's only one possible outcome. It's going to shatter to a million pieces. So always try to be very careful putting that down. All right, wet my face again a little bit. Drip, as always, a little bit of water on the face of the brush. So we're sort of starting wet to wet. Now, the other thing I should note about this soap is that when I first purchased it, I actually had it shipped to a colleague in our Poznan office because I was going to be there for a business trip anyway. I just made it a little bit cheaper on the shipping. Well, a lot cheaper on the shipping. But when she received the package with the two soaps in it, she immediately wrote to tell me that that soap was absolutely overpoweringly smelling up her locker, but in a good way, because the scent of the soap, very strong at first. I mean, a really nice sort of citrus, bright, with a little hint of sort of the woodsy notes from the cypress in there. But it was initially very strong. I mean, a very, very pronounced, strong odor. However, having let it sit for a little bit, because of course I didn't have a chance to use it right away. Now that lather's almost there. A little more water. Just dripping it, and then as soon as it's dripped, I just sort of add it into the soap that's there and then rebuild. So yeah, the scent now really consists of two pieces, and I think I'm not the only person to have experienced this particular issue with the soap, is that the soap now smells one of the perfume or the scent that it's supposed to smell of, which is a wonderful scent, nice, bright, but it also has kind of an odd underlying sort of plasticine or modeling clay scent to it, which, okay, maybe could be the kaolin clay, but I've used other soaps that included it that didn't smell like that. The other soap I have, which I have another one, which I think is the honey one, also has kind of that similar undertone of the kind of a modeling clay or plasticine. It's not unpleasant at all. Yeah, I mean, maybe for some will detract from the overall scent profile of the soap, but it absolutely does not seem to affect the performance. Obviously, it's just how it smells. All right, today I'm back onto the RazoRock Baby Smooth. However, a blade I've not used in quite a long time, Perma-Sharp. I think the name is kind of overselling because there's no way this blade stays sharp forever, but certainly for a couple tries. All right, let's go at it. Yeah, 2.5 days of growth just disappears. Yeah, the soap has been absolute delight. Really easy to lather, giving me great shaves. It's also very forgiving. We could add more water to this for sure. Just keep going, but yeah, I always think back at moments like this, like what it was like shaving with the cartridge razor, 2.5, 3 days worth of growth, and just how rough and tuggy that was, even with the new cartridge. No problems today. I've also been getting some questions about approaches to shaving some trouble spots. And I'm lucky, I guess, in the sense that I don't have kind of crazy swirls of hair on my neck. Because the advice to shave with the grain or across the grain, sometimes it doesn't really apply because there isn't really a grain to shave with because the hair just grows in a variety of different directions. And so that makes it hard if you're just trying to follow the rules of shaving. And remember, they're really just guidelines. It's mostly good practice that mostly works for most people, but you need to find what works for you. And there are some options to try to deal with those kind of crazy hair patterns. So you can see, like for me, I would be normally shaving straight down because the hair grows straight in that one area. It does tend to turn here. So one of the options you have, and it's just one of the options, that if you have a crazy hair pattern, is that when you shave, and I tried to describe this in writing to a person, but I actually found it hard to do. What you're going to do is you're going to shave and you're going to change the angle as you shave a little bit. So you're going with the grain, but slightly across the grain as well over the same spot, trying to find the angle for that particular hair growth pattern that is the most comfortable. There may not be a perfect one, but what you can do is sort of adapt and adjust. So instead of just shaving like this, what you can do is, as you can see, just very slightly short strokes, changing the angle up a little bit. Sort of shaving like this a little bit and trying to find a spot where it's not uncomfortable and not tuggy. And you can do the same, obviously, on the reverse pass, which I will demonstrate as well. It's one of the things about wet shaving where you have sometimes an overwhelming number of choices, but you also have the option in that regard to find the solution that works best for you and your particular hair growth pattern. Maybe you have a really dense beard just on your chin. Maybe you've got nothing over here. You still have options. And it is really, really important to remember that the advice or guidelines that people provide, they're just exactly that. You know, there's always that one person who, for whatever reason, finds that shaving against the grain for the first pass just seems to work out great. Okay, great, then that's what you do. Okay, let's rinse off here. So when rinsing, this is, I'm going to say, sort of 2/3 on the slickness. There's some, but there's not an overwhelming amount of slickness left. It's good, but it's not in that regard fantastic. Doesn't detract much from the soap in that regard, because of course I'm not shaving where there is no lather, but soaps that do tend to leave that layer of slickness behind, I think just in general seem to be overall better performers for me. All right, we may just do a 2-pass shave here again, just in the interest of time. But you can see 2.5 days of growth, whoosh, gone. No tugging. No real difficulties. Yeah, I've really been enjoying the soap, and I'm lucky because I have another puck in the wings. Looking forward to using the honey, which I think is the same formulation. I think it may also include the kaolin clay. All right, this will be kind of a hybrid across the grain. Perma-Sharp blade, this razor is actually doing a nice job. I don't think I'll be able to shave with this one blade for the rest of my life, but I'll let you guys know how it goes. I remember using these in the past and not being overly impressed, not thinking, well, this is the blade for me. But so far getting a pretty good shave out of them. Now, again, when we start doing under the neck, I'll start doing the changing up the stroke a little bit. You know, what's funny is that I can already feel that blade actually a little bit of tugging there. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing again, just as a demonstration under my jawline here. So normally speaking, with the growth, I would have to sort of shave just in this very sort of strict pattern. I'm not going to do that. What I do is I'm going to, even though it might be looks like I'm shaving over the same spot, and I kind of am, what I'm doing is I'm just gently alternating a little bit the angle of the razor. I hope you can see that. So here, I would normally shave this direction. So what I'll do, you can see just gently changing kind of a straight on and then an X pattern. It just gives you a bit of an extra option there. Try to deal with the fact that the hair may be growing kind of a, so you can hear for me, the hair actually grows this way. So what I'm doing is just slightly changing, because this is one of the few spots where if I do try to go, depending on the razor, easily irritated. All right. Easy, quick 2-pass shave. Yeah, I'm liking that soap a lot. You know, the fact that it has sort of the underlying modeling clay scent really doesn't bother me, because it really is only noticeable if you're, you know, sort of holding the soap up and taking a good smell from it. When you're just lathering it up, just the regular scent of the soap comes out. So just something to be aware of. All right, let's clean this off a little bit. All right, let me just try to get some of the soap out of my ears. For those of you that keep pointing that out, thank you. Yes, I know I have soap in my ears. Okay. Now, just gonna do a quick pass with the alum and then rinse that off. Your block of alum may look something like this as well. I've had a bit of a crack develop in mine, so it's actually fallen into 2 different pieces. This happened with the last one as well, but there's still quite a bit of smoothness to it, so I just keep using it. There's really no reason not to. This side works perfectly fine. You can take like a disposable nail file, for example, and just try to, you know, soften that up, but I really don't care about the other end because I just use this one side. Yeah, no stinging. Yeah, that's good shave. Yeah, ironically, I think I have to shave again tonight because I have a very, very early start again in the morning. So when I have to start that early, I tend to shave the night before. So this may well be a 2 shaves in one day kind of deal. All right, let me go ahead and just rinse off my face. particularly now when it starts to tend towards the colder, drier months, I do not let the alum sit for too long. Definitely can be overly drying if you do, and it's just something I want to avoid. Winter's not always that great to the skin on my face, so. All right. Well, for a quick 2-pass shave, not bad at all. Yep, skin is nice and tight after the alum. No irritation. Yeah, good shave overall. All right, well let's do a quick run through again. The soap for today, German handmade soap, Calani. This is the Iberian Sun, Iberische Sonne. Great soap. Really enjoying using this. Lathers easily. If you have it in a deep bowl and you want to use a wet brush, I say knock your socks off. You're going to be creating just a mountain of sort of foamy lather in there. And if you then start to create a real lather inside that bowl, I think it's going to turn out great. I happen to have it in a smaller size dish. As a result, I load with a dry brush so you don't end up with this, mountain of lather going everywhere. Today's brush, perennial favorite, Rod Need Lignum Vitae custom boar. The blades for today, Perma-Sharp. Not bad. RazoRock Baby Smooth, always an easy shaver. Definitely loving that razor still. And trusty alum, as you can see, 2 pieces. I even still use that little piece sometimes. It's a little bit rough, but there's still at least a bit of a smoothness on there. Well, that's it for today's shave. I want to thank you again so much for watching. If you have any questions, you can of course post those against the video. I do try when I can to get back to those comments and questions. And thank you so much for watching. And until next time, goodbye.